Hey, friend, very important message today. Probably the opposite of what you've been hearing all along while grieving and trying to figure out this grieving. You have to take breaks away from grieving. You have to step away from it. One of the most exhausting experiences in your life will be your prolonged grieving experience. It is going to be up to you to take these breaks, to take mental escapes, to step away from the grief. It is good for you and it is okay for them. And I don't know what your relationship was like with them, but I can only imagine that they would want you to take a break away from your grieving, even for a short period of time. Grief is a normal process that our body goes through when we experience a loss. It's natural for us to grieve. Grief was given to us. We are supposed to grieve. Yet what we try to do is resist the grief. We push back against the grief, like we don't want to do the grief. But we were supposed to grieve, my friends. It's a natural and necessary process. It is designed in our bodies and in our hearts to help us with the loss, to help us examine our relationship with our person that we've lost. When we experience a loss, it's essential to remember that we have to take breaks from grieving to allow our body to rest. It's actually very crucial to take these breaks. I'm going to explore a little bit more about breaks that you can take and why you should be taking breaks. But I want you to know that this came about because I was working with a griever the other day, and she just kept going on and on about how exhausted she was. That the constant thinking about her person not being here, the constant pain, the constant agony. She can't think about anything else. She can't function. She can't get things done in her life. You'll agree with me on this, I think, that grief is all-consuming. It affects every aspect of our life. Even pouring that bowl of cereal in the morning, we're grieving because that was her favorite. Captain Crunch was her favorite. And you loved having cereal with her in the morning. Even from the very first thing that you do every day, you're going to be experiencing that grief. Taking breaks doesn't mean you're forgetting about them. Like, taking breaks doesn't mean you love them any less. Taking breaks doesn't mean you're throwing them to the side. Taking breaks doesn't mean, now I'm not telling you to go run amok and go hog wild. I'm saying take a break. Consciously in your brain, tell yourself, on Thursday, I'm taking a grief break day. If you make that commitment within yourself, it makes the break so much easier. If you acknowledge and say to yourself, on Thursday, I'm taking a grief break day, it makes it so much easier, and your body will respond with what you tell it to do. It doesn't mean that we're dismissing our feelings at all. It means allowing ourselves a moment of respite from this intense pain of grief, longing, anger, and sadness. We're allowing respite. We're allowing our heart to breathe. We're allowing our body to take a break. Breaks offer the opportunity to recharge emotionally, physically, mentally. They give us the space to give perspective to what we are going through. We gain this amazing perspective to what we're going through. We get a break to process some calming emotions, and we return to our grief renewed. You're coming right back to it. You're only leaving it for a short time. I love it when grievers tell me they're going to take a weekend away. They're just going to go to the beach for a week. They need a break. They need space. They're going to go sit on the beach just for a little while and take a break from what has been going on in their life. When you come back to the grief, you come back renewed, ready to do it again, and you come back with like you almost like have observed yourself in the grieving process. It's like you become the observer. And I talk about this all the time. You take a step outside of your body and you observe yourself grieving and absolutely going through the grief. You can learn so many things about your grief. It is healthy. It's healthy for you. It's healthy for your children. It's healthy for your spouse. It can be healthy for your parents. Whoever is still around you and on this journey for you, it is healthy for you. It is extremely healthy for you to show this to your children, to show your children that you're taking a break from your grief, but that you're going to come right back to it. Because remember, they're watching you grieve. They're learning how they're going to grieve for your loss by what they see you do. They're learning it that way. I want to give each and every one of you who's listening here today permission to allow in some joy. Taking a break and allowing in joy. What if you're grieving right now, actively grieving, really grieving hard, but your grandson is going to be in the play that he is prepared for all year at school? You know he's been preparing for this. He has the lead role, and he's been talking about it all year. And now you're in the midst of this grieving process, and you've got to go to this funny play. And he's going to be the lead role in that play. You're hit with two options. You either go and you give yourself permission to feel joy and to laugh, or you miss out on the play and you never get to partake in one of the most important parts of your grandson's life. During grief, it's common to feel guilty for experiencing moments of joy. There are moments where I would laugh out loud. I would laugh at a joke, or I would hear something, I would laugh, and instantly I'd be hit with guilt. How can I be enjoying? Donovan's not here. He can't laugh anymore. He can't tell this joke with me anymore. How can I be laughing? But if you give yourself permission, knowing, and sometimes I would even say, okay, Sharon, I'm going to go watch this comedy show. I want you to go with me because this is something you and I would have done together and we're going to enjoy it. Give yourself permission out loud and let them know what you are doing. You can have moments of happiness. You can have moments of joy. You can have moments of laughter. You can enjoy the root beer float. You can sit in the car with your husband and have that root beer float. Because I promise you this, my friend, the grief is never going to leave until you go after it. It was set in you for a purpose, and it is there until it is time for it to leave. Allowing ourselves to have these little breaks and enjoy life doesn't diminish our love for that person, doesn't diminish the love for the person we lost or the significance of the loss. It doesn't make it any less. I remember being 14 years old, and my grandmother had died. And it was Lent. It was during Lent. And I got invited to a party. And my dad wouldn't let me go. One, because it was Lent, and two, because my grandmother had just passed away, and it would have been disrespectful. It would have been looked at as disrespectful. Knowing what I know now, and knowing what I know today, if my 14-year-old daughter comes to me after my mom passes away and says, I was invited to this party, by all means, I will encourage her to go. By all means, I will encourage her to go. Because even while she's at that party, she's going to be missing her grandmother. Even while she's at that party, she's going to be longing for her grandmother. Grief doesn't go away. When she comes back into the house, she's coming back into a grieving home. It is a natural part of this healing process for us to take a break from our grief. Taking a break allows us to laugh for a second. It allows us to take a breath in. It allows us to find pleasure in small amounts throughout the grieving process. Just these little moments of break. It doesn't mean you're betraying yourself. You're not betraying them, and you're not betraying your grief. It means you're honoring yourself. You're giving yourself self-care. You're giving yourself, you're letting your loved one know how important they are to you, that you're on this grief journey for a while, but you're also going to continue to do it and honor them throughout the way, throughout the path, and throughout the time, but that you need a break. Our lives are filled with happy moments, sad moments, melancholy moments. There are all these emotions on the emotion wheel. We can draw from all of them at any moment, at any time. And while you're on your grieving journey, you're going to experience them all. But allowing yourself to take a break. Hear me out, though. I want to caution you. I am not telling you to take a break and never come back to this. There is no way I'm telling you that. I'm not telling you to take a 1-year break. I'm not telling you to take a 10-year break. I meet grievers every single day that their loss happened 30 years ago and they're still grieving. That is not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you to take a little bit of break from your grief today and that it's absolutely okay. Taking the break is a part of your self-care. It gives you control over your own personal grief. It gives you control over how this grieving process is going to be. It gives you control over the physical aspect and the emotional aspect. And I hate using this word, but I'm going to use it because this is what we all talk about, but it's your self-care. Taking little tiny breaks along with your grief allows you to focus on you. It gives you the chance to check in. Am I okay? Maybe this is the time that I need to go check in with my doctor and see how things are going. Maybe I need to do a check on my blood pressure. Maybe I need to just go get a manicure and a pedicure. Just do something for me today. And that is okay, right? Maybe your break is just taking a walk around the block tonight because the weather is so nice and beautiful and you just want to be alone with your own thoughts. Maybe you need to break the isolation that you've been in. Maybe you've been sitting at home avoiding everybody, not going to your girlfriend's daughter's baby shower. Maybe you haven't been going to your church events. Maybe you haven't been going to church. Maybe you haven't gone to work. Maybe this is a break out of that isolation. Maybe you call a few girlfriends and get them to go to the beach with you so that you can enjoy together. Maybe you take a break in the isolation and you decide to share your grief feelings and emotions today. Maybe that's your break. Whatever it is for you, know that it is absolutely okay. More than anything on this podcast, I want to just give you permission to take a break. We have got to find the balance in our grieving experience. We've got to find the balance between brokenness and living. I say all the time, it's called grieving and living. We are grieving, actively grieving, and simultaneously living. Balancing grief and taking breaks is an individual decision for you to make for your journey. I really hope that you decide to do this for your journey. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I just threw out a bunch of examples, but listen to your body and know what you need. Maybe you're at the part where you just can't cry anymore. Maybe you just can't do this anymore and you need to take a break just from the crying. Give yourself permission. Remember, there's no timeline on how quickly you have to get through this healing, but know that it's the action steps that you take within time that help you with the healing. Action steps. Taking a break from my grief, sitting in my grief corner and crying it out, talking to my friends, finding support, getting in an educational program on grief, getting in a grief support group. Those are all action steps that you're going to need to take to move you beyond the pain. Thank you, friends, for allowing me in for this few minutes to talk about your grief break. My name is Sharon Brubaker, and I am a grief specialist. I guide women through the process of grief after the loss due to death. And I created an amazing program called Forever Change. And I teach it at my school, the Grief School. And it's an educational program that starts at the very beginning of the process. It starts at the definition of what grief really is for you And I use my own process to help teach you through this journey. In the show notes today, I have my a link tree, and in the link tree, you will find so many resources on where to find me, where to follow me on social media, but also in there, most importantly, I give you a couple of gifts. I give you the Griever's Guide. I give you a guide that I wrote on surviving the holidays and special days like their birthdays. And I should add a part in there about taking a grief break. I think there is a part about taking a grief break in there. And so please download that today, get those resources for yourself. But most importantly, set up a meeting to meet with me. Let's share our grief together. Let's talk about whether the Grief School and Forever Change is the right program for you. I'd be honored to be your guide on this journey. Thank you, friends.